My coverage of Computex 2017 is brought to you by MSI, EVGA, Tesoro, G-Skill, and Cooler Master.
Guys, EVGA invited us over to their headquarters in New Taipei City, so we're actually here right now in their gaming arena. They've set this up just so they can bring people in, have like LAN parties here, and it's actually pretty epic. They've got like a whole stage set up and they can have competitions, and that's all pretty sweet, but we're actually not here to check the gaming arena out. We're here to check out EVGA's new products. So guys, EVGA has conveniently laid all of the products out here on these tables for us. So I'm gonna kind of run down the line and show you guys what's going on. Ignore Kyle over there. He's not covering any of this stuff. He's just pretending. Anyway, let's start with cases. The DG7 series includes the DG73, 75, and 76. You guys might be familiar with some of these. Tempered glass available options on multiple sides, up to 3 sides of the case, and a bit more of a sort of standard box-like aesthetic than you get with, for instance, the DG8 series, like the one down there on the left. These look pretty nice though. I think they're a pretty good solution. And more on EVGA solutions again in just a minute, because that's what they're trying to focus on this time around. It's not just being a components vendor, but also being able to provide the complete solution for people who want a gaming PC or otherwise. Here's a keyboard they're working on, Z10. There it is right there, mechanical switches. Nice volume and dimmers options here, as well as a LED readout it looks like there in the middle. I don't have very much information on this keyboard, but I wanted to at least point it out. Let's move over to this laptop. This is the SC15, and huge thank you, of course, to EVGA, not just for sponsoring my Computex 2017 content, but also I reached out to them to see if we could borrow one of these, and we are, and my editor Joe is editing on this right now. Probably as I speak. It's a beast of a laptop, 17.3-inch screen, 4K, G-Sync display, that's what it's got on there, GTX 1070 inside, as well as a 6820 CPU. And the one we have has absolutely been wonderful so far, 256 gig SSD and a 1 terabyte hard drive in there, aluminum construction, just a beast of a laptop. I also want to point out it came with very minimal bloatware, which I certainly appreciated. Here's the new one though, the SC15, a smaller variant of the SC17, probably going to be a little bit more affordable, I have to imagine, because the specs aren't quite as high-end, but you do get a 15.6-inch IPS display. It's 1080p and again, G-Sync capable. Has USB 3.1, Bluetooth 4.2, and i7 7700HQ, 16 gigs of RAM, a GTX 1060, full GPU in there, although it's probably not going to be running at the same frequencies as the desktop cards. Again, 256 gig SSD and 1 terabyte hard drive, and with that all aluminum construction. EVGA's done a really good job on this. They had a blown up sort of a version of it upstairs. We were able to look at the internals and stuff like that. Simple, clean design, and I definitely like it. If it's anything like the SC17, its big brother, this is going to be a very nice laptop for someone who needs something on the go. Here's the DG87. It's a big old case. Let's move on down the line though. Here's a DG77 gaming system, and again going back to EVGA's solutions. Now taking a look at this DG77 gaming system reminds me that EVGA also, in their push to be more of a solutions provider rather than just components, they're introducing a configurator. So this could be integrated with retailers, for example, like Newegg or something like that. I believe EVGA is also going to just have this hosted directly on their website, but it's basically will allow you to configure a system. I would imagine using EVGA components, of course, make sure everything is compatible, since you can now get just about everything you would want for a desktop computer, all from EVGA. Power supply, case, graphics card, motherboard, CPU cooler. I mean, all you're really missing is what, like some storage, memory, and a CPU, and you can do everything else EVGA if you want. So super convenient. Check out the EVGA configurator if you want to configure something. EVGA launched these CLC coolers just after CES this year, so I've already kind of taken a look at these. Just to point out, in case you weren't aware, you got a 280 millimeter, 240 millimeter, and 120 millimeter closed loop cooling solution for CPUs. They also had some expandable versions of these back at CES. Those were kind of interesting. But check out Jay's video on these. He has reviewed them. He did a great job. We're playing dueling make EVGA videos with Kyle.
We meet again.
All right, let's talk power supplies. I recommend EVGA power supplies all the time because they're just good power supplies. Go to good power supply review sites like Johnny Guru and Tech Power Up. They consistently give the vast majority of EVGA power supplies really good ratings for their internals, their build quality. They work with good OEMs like Superflower to put them together. And they are not only well put together, but they're quiet, and they have cables that are usually all black and blend in with your system a little bit better. Here's sort of a new one they're working on. This is the 750G3S. This is an 80 plus gold rated power supply as part of their Supernova series, and you might notice that it's a decent size smaller than any of these other full-size ATX power supplies that we have around here. It is not an SFX power supply though. SFX is a small form factor standard. This is not quite small enough to fit that. However, they said they're going to have this available in up to 1,000 watts. So it's going to be the pretty much the smallest 1,000 watt 80 plus gold rated power supply that you can get. And of course it's got all the features you'd expect from the Supernova series, like nice quiet fan, completely modular on the other side. I would have to imagine all the cables are going to be the standard black cables like they use. It's even got an eco mode switch. I believe that's an eco mode switch on that side. So if you're going to build a small form factor system or a mini ITX system, and especially if you're considering water cooling or something like that, and just space is an issue, check it out, the 750G3S from EVGA. I have to imagine the S stands for small. All right, now let's move on to these guys over here, because I think you guys are probably most interested and excited about the X299 products that we have. Of course, going along with Intel's recently announced Core X series of CPUs, going all the way up to 18 core, 36 thread options. So EVGA is starting off with their X299 Dark. This is going to be their flagship motherboard. You might notice that it only has 4 DIMM slots. That was an active choice because I want to make sure that this motherboard is going to have the capability to break overclocking records. And doing a quad channel 4 DIMM slot option rather than an 8 DIMM slot option allows them to hit 200 to 300 megahertz faster speeds when they're attempting memory overclocks with DDR4, simply due to less complexity and less crosstalk between the channels. Beyond that though, this board has a very unique eATX design, but it's eATX with little pockets cut out of it, so you can still fit it in a standard ATX case, at least in some situations, and you will still be able to route your cables for your 24 pin and your USB and everything through your motherboard routing channels like you should. Also down on the bottom left, they have a PCI Express graphics supplemental connector. This will provide some additional power to the PCI Express slots, especially if you're running a bunch of different devices in different slots. And again, this one they've recessed with that notch cutout. That's for power supply compatibility, because a lot of cases, that's going to be where your power supply matches up with the motherboard, and having that recess will allow you to actually plug that in and use it, which is kind of cool. Beyond that, we also have tons of NVMe SSD support, 2 U.2s over there, and then this M.2 cooler unit here. It's got a shroud, it's got an active fan, and then there's an M.2 right here and an M.2 vertically right here. The fan will actively cool both of those and channel the hot air up and out of the I.O. And that will theoretically keep your M.2 SSDs cooler, which is important if you have a really fast one, like say a Samsung 960 Pro. When those get too hot, they start to throttle themselves, so keeping them cool is a good idea. This one also comes with a really cool blank PCB setup here with some standoffs, so you can use this just to set it up externally, do an outside the box build, set up a little testing workstation like KINGPIN does, and I actually have one of these that I've had for a really long time that I got and I thought was special, but now people who get the X299 Dark board can get one of them as well. Moving along to the X299 for the Win K, and check it out, EVGA is susceptible to RGB LEDs as well. This is their first RGB LED motherboard. They have RGB LED accents along the VRM cooling solution up here, the I/O, the sound area down there, as well as the chipset. So that's kind of the most distinguishing feature of this motherboard, of course, but the For the Win boards from EVGA have a nice reputation. My X99 classified motherboard from EVGA was super stable, so I have to give them that credit for sure. Also on here, you got surface mounted power and reset buttons, debug LEDs. I should point out that that is also available over here on the X299 Dark board, although you get a double debug LED for that one. You can actually have that read out your CPU voltage. It's kind of interesting. And then finally, of course, the same type of connectivity for NVMe SSDs, a couple U.2s, a couple M.2s, as well as an eATX form factor. So there's the X299 for the Win K. And then finally, again, X299 in the micro ATX form factor. EVGA did this with X99 as well. They were kind of the first out of the gate with a micro ATX board. So again, this one, you've only got 4 DIMM slots, and it's a pretty basic design as far as connectivity and everything. You do have, again, surface mounted power and reset. You have a single U.2, you've got a single M.2, but overall, it looks like a nice clean board. And for anyone who's looking to drop X299 and an Intel Core X CPU, Core X series CPU in a smaller form factor. There's a micro ATX motherboard available from EVGA. Let's move over to GPUs, because that's probably what EVGA is most known for. We've got the 1080 Ti Hydro Copper there on the right. We've got the new 1080 Ti Hybrid right here on the left. So this one includes custom PCB, active air cooling on the fan for the VRMs and the power delivery, and then a liquid cooling solution with an integrated all-in-one 120 millimeter fan and radiator for cooling the GPU, and this has proven with a lot of their hybrid cards in the past to be an extremely effective solution for keeping that GPU temperature down and maintaining often higher boost clock speeds. Two 8-pin PCI Express power connectors on this one, in case you guys are wondering. Now, the 1080 Ti's are of course available in a wide variety of options from EVGA. These are the SC2 on the right and the For the Win 3 on the left. And for the For the Win 3, EVGA is now offering its elite members, which you can join that club by either being very active on the forums or owning a lot of EVGA cards or other things like that. But you can get different colored shrouds with these, and they showed us several different options of those. Very colorful. So if you're doing a themed build with a specific color in mind, EVGA's got you covered. Unless you want purple. Where's the purple, EVGA? Everyone wants purple. All right, let's move on to the final card, the GTX 1080 Ti KINGPIN. Absolute beast of a card. This one's, again, completely redesigned PCB. You see a bunch of copper in there. It's not a complete copper cooling solution in there, but they have copper plated a ton of the cooling on the card. They also have a specialized heat pipe that's on the base plate to help keep the VRMs cool. It's got a specialized connector for voltage measurements. It has dual 8-pin PCI Express graphics connectors, again, that are edge mounted and right angled, so help them keep your cable management clean. It's got a really cool design, and it also continues to feature ICX technology, which EVGA has been working on for quite a while, but we originally covered with the launch of their 1080 ICX, which means you have 9 sensors scattered around the PCB to help measure things like temperature on your VRMs, so that you can actively cool different parts of the card, see how the card is performing, see where you might want to cool things down if necessary. And you can also have asynchronous fan control, so you can have one fan that spins up for the GPU and the other fans can be connected to the VRMs, just so you can have a more intelligent cooling solution to keep things cool while also optimizing for sound generation, so things are both cool and quiet. EVGA is also guaranteeing that the GPUs that ship in the KINGPIN cards are going to be able to overclock to 2025 megahertz, which is pretty significant. They're doing that by binning the GPUs to make sure that whatever GPU you get in your KINGPIN card will overclock like a beast. So that's pretty cool. Once again, the GeForce GTX 1080 Ti KINGPIN edition with ICX technology from EVGA, as well as all of these EVGA parts. It's just beastly, beastly parts. So guys, that's all for my coverage of EVGA's headquarters here in New Taipei City. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, of course, hit the thumbs up button. And a huge thanks again to my sponsors for Computex 2017, EVGA, of course, as well as MSI, Tesoro, G-Skill, and Cooler Master. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you very soon with more coverage from Computex 2017.